Tom, excuse me, Tom Patterson, H. Paul Payne, Alan Ekstrand. Go ahead, Tom.
Good morning, Mr. President, members of the Commission. Tom Patterson, representing the California Rifle and Pistol Association. I appreciate the comments. My issue is the same letter that's before you, dated June 29th, and I'm glad to see the Department is addressing the issue of third parties researching for the Department. The point I'd like to make is that having a public policy debate before this body is the best way to resolve the issue. My only concern is that we not go down a slippery slope where we start allowing issues to be decided without the benefit of science. And you could have a predetermined position on something, but at least if you're willing to look at the science, that's what's very important. And what we're asking is that the Commission consider the points in the letter and have all the information available to make an informed decision. And having said that, we look forward to working with the Department and the Commission toward that end. Thank you very much.
H. Paul Payne, Alan Ekstrand, Monica Ingebrigtsen, Jennifer Fearing. Go ahead, sir.
Hi, my name is Paul Payne, and I'm representing the National Rifle Association also on this same issue. Since the taxpayers paid for the studies in question via funding by the Department, the public, under the authority of the California Public Records Act, has a right to access all data. That's our position. And that includes material, raw data, all kinds of everything that's included in there that we, the public, paid for. The Department is ultimately responsible because that money was entrusted to the Department by the taxpayers. Since the product in the form of the above-mentioned data and reports is not being released as required, how can the Department, the Commission, or the public be expected to have confidence in the conclusions presented by any of these so-called reports? I mean, that's a big question, I think. And in closing this brief comment up, I'd like to just suggest that the Commission formally and officially request full and complete release of all data that is included and related to these studies that are referenced in that letter that you are now in possession of. Thank you.
Hang on.
Commissioner Richards.
Thank you, Mr. President. As I'm scanning through this thing, two things strike me. First, well, actually, one thing was from Ed's previous statement where he said something like he spoke to someone and they said one of the researchers told him that they had destroyed some of the raw data?
Allegedly, yes.
Allegedly he said it, or allegedly
no,
he destroyed it?
According to the law firm whose letterhead you possess there, that is the report that was given to them by the researchers.
Okay, I'd like to have, I think we need to have specifics on who said that so we can look into that further, for starters. So would you ask them to forward that to the Department so we can actually have specifics on what researchers said they had?
I'd be glad to pass that on to the attorneys, yes.
Okay. Because if don't have it, then it's just hearsay, and I don't
Absolutely.
like that. Okay.
And I think
I was specific who said that,
exactly,
so that we can get to the bottom of that and see if that's actually the fact.
Sounds absolutely reasonable
okay.
to me.
The second thing is, as I'm looking on the second page, I see something here I'm not familiar with, and I'm curious, probably from our legal side. It says the researcher is not turning over the information on a public records request, and they're claiming they have researcher's privilege. What in the heck is that?
There's pending litigation on this right now, Commissioner Richards, and I'm not the attorney representing the Commission and the Department in this case, and I'm not in a position to advise the Commission, and I would recommend that the Commission discuss this directly with counsel who's assigned to the case.
Okay. Sonky, can we make that happen?
Absolutely. It's just we're both in active litigation on this matter and recommend that we don't really discuss this any further.
But
okay, but I want to discuss it with the attorney. Okay, good. Thank you. So someone will be calling me.
UC Davis, you should have some stroke with these people.
Therefore, Commissioner Richards, now you understand our frustration and the reason why we we're suggesting that the commission actually makes the request, and they will get not only what we've obtained as far as responses via our attorneys, but they will actually get the same responses, I presume,
Right.
from the researchers.
Well, I think the good news is I've heard across the commission, and we have different opinions about the ultimate issue, I think, or at least at this point, but I think there's unanimity that everybody wants to have all of the data to
Absolutely,
make the right
and that's
decision.
the question on the table at this time. Thank you very much.
I think
Commissioner Rogers.
there's a lot of support for that.
I certainly agree with everything my fellow commissioners have said. One of the things that I find crushingly naive, and I don't mean to pick on you,
Oh, that's okay.
is
I got
that
thick-skinned.
anybody who has ever dealt, and I mean anyone who has ever dealt with a researcher from any one of our lovely institutions of higher knowledge throughout the entire United States, if not the world, knows that they are in their own world. They have what is called tenure. They literally can turn their back on you and do virtually anything they think they want to do. This department has had them do that to us many, many times on entirely different issues. The academic senate runs its own world. The president of the university has almost virtually no control over them. Good luck.
Well, that's absolutely understandable, and they may or may not be, as we think, in their own world, but their world is funded by us, the taxpayers, via the department. So that's where the accountability comes into play here. Thank you.
Alan Ekstrand, Monica Ingebrigtsen, and Jennifer Fearing.
Mr. President and members of the Commission, my name is Alan Ekstrand. I live in Woodland, California, and I'm here representing UC Davis on a different topic. I would like to address the topic of some recent changes to 6.7.1, the restricted species permit. I hold the restricted species permit for our campus, and one of the changes we have some concerns about has to do with the request to report any incoming animals within 10 business days.
Excuse me.
Yes.
This is an agenda item that's scheduled for public testimony later on today. Am I correct on that, staff?
I think that one had specifically to do with the new inspections that you guys were going to be requiring. My topic was one that was already approved.
You're talking about regulations that have been approved?
Been approved,
then?
correct.
Okay, go ahead
Yeah.
then.
We'll cover that one later. But this has to do with changes that you guys have put into effect that require us to report within 10 business days of any animal deaths that are on our permits or any incoming animals within 10 business days of them arriving onto campus, or anybody who has the permits. The majority of our restricted species are xenopus and transgenic zebrafish, which we have by the thousands and are routinely being euthanized for research purposes. And so that creates a rather large burden on my office, on the researchers, as well as I would imagine on Fish and Game to deal with all the additional paperwork and everything else coming in. We were hoping that the department would reconsider this and maybe allow us to go back to how we handled it prior to this change, which was to maintain census and to provide these animal numbers on an annual basis when we renew our permit. The second issue was a change that was made at the same time that had to do with providing our USDA inspection reports. While many places get inspected maybe once a year, once every other year, we have inspections maybe 10 to 50 times a year. It's a lot of inspection reports. USDA has also made these reports readily available online for anybody to view, so for us to provide them in addition seems unnecessary. And again, these are things that could easily be provided during our annual renewal rather than every time they happen. So again, we're hoping that they might reconsider and allow us to go back to how it was prior, where we just provided this information at each one of our annual renewals rather than as they occurred. Thank you for your time.
Okay, Monica Ingebrigtsen, Jennifer Fearing, and that's the last public forum card that I have.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Monica Ingebrigtsen with Born for USA. I wanted to bring forth an issue that I brought forth at the public forum last time because there hasn't been any movement regarding the regulation of nuisance wildlife control operators. I won't go through the whole 10-year saga because I summarized that last year, but just in general, in 2002, under SB 1645, it required the department to license and regulate and ensure the proficiency of those that perform nuisance wildlife control trapping. Those regulations have never been put in place. In 2004, regs were put forth but then pulled by the department. And then in 2007, there were 2 bills that went through the legislature with bipartisan support that would have effectively done this, and then were vetoed by the governor because he wanted us to work with the department. In 2010, I went and met with Zonky Matrop about why this process hadn't gone through, and he mentioned that it required an EIR that was to comply with CEQA that was cost prohibitive, and that's why they hadn't bothered to put it through. But in speaking to William Craven, the chief consultant for the Natural Resource Committee in the Senate, he expressed to me that that's not true, that the department is categorically exempt to do regulations. And further, this weekend, I attended a workshop on CEQA put forth by Schutt, Mihaly, and Weinberger that specialize in CEQA. And we didn't talk about this specifically, but they had mentioned that there's also a common sense clause under CEQA that if regulations or changes can't conceivably hurt the environment, that they are exempt. And regulating nuisance wildlife control droppers would seem to actually benefit the environment rather than have any negative impact. So even if you're not categorically exempt, it seems that you probably under common sense exclusion should be able to do this. So I'm just hoping that the Commission will put this back on your radar, bring this up again, get to the bottom of what needs to be done, and at the very least, if we go back to the legislature, that you not impede those efforts and maybe even support those if you prefer the legislature to handle this issue. Thanks.
Jennifer Fearing.
Good morning, Commissioners and Chairman Kellogg. Jennifer Fearing with the Humane Society of the United States. I just wanted to offer up during public comment this morning just to make you aware of a couple of activities that